Hey, good morning. It's time for your weekly kick. Today I'm standing inside a place called Patterson's Gardens. It's close to a university campus, and it was started by somebody who really had a passion about trees and plants and shrubs. And if I could take my camera and pan around and show you all the trees and plants that are in this area, you'd actually be amazed because there's trees and shrubs and plants that don't belong in Saskatchewan. They're not native to this province. But somebody planted them here and they took care of them, and they're still taking care of them till today. Now they're planted in rows. There's rows upon row of different trees. There's maples, there's all different kind of hardwoods, there's softwoods, there's all kind of shrubs. There's fruit producing trees, and there's trees that don't produce anything. But what somebody did was take the time and make the effort to invest in these trees, in these shrubs, in these plants, to make sure that they grew, to give them the nutrition, to give them the environment as much as possible that would enable them to grow and to thrive. And that's what's happened. Now, what you will also find is somebody has taken the time to pull the weeds in this garden. It's not really a garden. They call it a garden, but it's more of a park. So I'm going to call it a park. Someone has taken the time to pull the weeds on a regular basis in this park. That has made all the difference because the weeds can tend to choke out the plants. Now, if the person who planted the trees and planted the shrubs didn't know the difference between a weed and a tree, there'd be some problems. What might happen is they might start putting their time into the weeds instead of into the trees. And the trees wouldn't grow to their full potential. And the weeds are a waste of time. I was thinking back today about my yard. We moved in just over 4 years ago, and it was covered with weeds in the backyard. Like, no word of a lie, they were at least 3.5 feet tall. And they covered a good portion of the backyard because the previous person had not taken care of it at all. They hadn't maintained the yard in any way. And so I spent some time getting rid of the weeds, and I was cutting them down, and at one point I noticed that something looked different. What looked different was that there was actually some shrubs there that did belong, that I did want to keep. They were below my waist, so they were under 3 feet tall, but they were still a nice looking bush. As I cut the weeds away from around them, I could tell that these things belonged. They were going to turn into a nice looking shrub. And so what I did is I had to cut the weeds down around these shrubs, leaving the shrubs. I needed to put my time and effort into keeping the shrubs, but getting rid of the weeds. And today, they've turned into a beautiful, globe-like cedar bush. They're huge. They're probably about this high, 4.5 feet tall, and 4.5 feet in diameter. They're a beautiful tree. But had I not invested my time in them, I wouldn't have them today. And the same is holding true for our leadership. We need to be able to tell the difference between a weed and a shrub, a weed and a tree. Because we only have so much time, and as a leader, we need to be investing in the people we're leading. That is a key component of a good leader, is that they're preparing people to lead behind them. Is that we're investing in the men and women that we're leading so that they will move into positions of leadership and be effective at it. The problem is this. We can put our time and our energy and our effort into teaching, training, correcting, encouraging somebody for years, only to find out they're not going to put it into practice. They really didn't thrive. The reason is because they're a weed. And I'm going to call them a weed. We can put the same amount of effort and energy and training and correction and encouragement into a tree, into a shrub, and they're going to thrive. You see, there are people that will thrive when we put our effort into them, and there's people who won't. We need to be able to tell the difference as a leader and make sure that when we realize that somebody is a weed, that we stop putting so much effort into them. They don't deserve to get a lot of our time because there are men and women there in our organizations who do deserve our time and our effort, our energy, because they will grow. They want to grow. They will take what we give them and multiply it and get better at what they do. Those are the people we want to make sure that we're investing our time and our effort and our energy in, because we only have so much. Today this park is beautiful, but it's because somebody tended the trees and got rid of the weeds. We can learn a lesson from that. We need to do the same thing in our organizations. Tend the people who want to grow, who are going to become better, who want to be a part of a high-performing team. And the people who don't want to grow, the best way to help them is potentially helping them move on and find a place where they might be able to bloom at some point. As a leader, we need to be able to tell the difference between the weeds and the trees, between the people who will grow and the people who won't, and then invest our time accordingly. So that is my challenge for you this week and my encouragement. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Tuesday.